Hey there, my name is Greg and I'm a life coach and I work primarily with people who want to drink less. And what I'm going to do in this video is give you an overview of what I call my deliberate drinking process. It's a process that I use with my one-on-one coaching clients to help them get to a place where they've got reliable, enjoyable moderation with respect to drinking alcohol. So as I said, it's going to be a quick overview. This process that I'm talking about, it's got 5 steps. I'm really just going to outline these steps here without going to them in detail. But then what you're going to get access to through the emails that you've signed up for and that this came on is actually a breakdown, a lesson, a video lesson, 10-15 minutes for each one of these steps. So this is kind of this is all I have to offer in terms of telling you about my process in a way that you can go try to put it into practice. So I've got 2 goals here. One is I want to put this resource out that people can put into practice. I see people out there struggling to drink less, and the information that they have access to, the techniques that they try to use are really pretty bad. This is much better. And secondly, it's an introduction to my work. I know that there's going to be some fraction of the people that will see this that are tired of do-it-yourself, or they don't want to wait around to and gamble on whether they're going to get results, and they're interested in working with an expert. And so this is going to give you a little bit a sense of kind of who I am and how I work, and maybe as a basis to take the first step, which would be to get on a call with me, and a free call, and talk about how this might apply to you in your situation. So without further ado, I'm going to give you this overview, I promised. So drinking, that's what we're here to talk about, right? That's what we're focused on. And most approaches, most of the things that people do en route to trying to cut back, they really focus on the action of drinking, and basically with various types of resistance. They try to resist the drinking by waking up in the morning feeling kind of crappy from the drinks the night before and saying, okay, today's going to be the day I'm not going to drink. Or by setting rules like I'm not going to drink during the week, I'm only going to start on Thursday, or I'm not going to keep it in the house, I'm only going to drink beer. Various ways to sort of hopefully manage the action of drinking. And typically these don't work all that well, and I'm going to explain why and what the alternative is. What I do is look upstream. Why is this drinking happening in the first place? You know, this is the million-dollar question. What's making you drink against your will and drink too much? And the short answer to that is discomfort. This discomfort can take various forms. It's all essentially emotional in nature. And it could be the discomfort of unfulfilled desire. If you really like it, you really want it, and when you want something and you can't get it, that's uncomfortable. Or it can be the discomfort of negative emotion, of stress and anxiety are very common. Boredom is one of the things that I hear most commonly, but it could be also regret, guilt, and shame. Those are really big because there's a cycle often with drinking, and then people feel guilty about drinking, and then in order to get away from that guilt, there's more drinking. Sort of the two types of discomfort are desire and we'll just call it emotion in general. And so what happens is that the need, or the perceived need and desire to solve the discomfort, is greater than the person's ability to resist it, even with these various approaches that I mentioned. So here's what I do instead. Here's how I help people. First step in the process is observe and understand. So in order for you to deal with this discomfort differently than you've been doing in your life, you've got to understand what it is. When people come to me, they say, I drink because of stress. And that's kind of true, but that's not deep enough. Where is that stress coming from? What does it feel like in your body? What happens if you don't solve it? Is that stress a catch-all word for some of these other emotions like regret and guilt, for example? So you've got to get to this understanding, and the way you do it is by paying attention to yourself. When you're thinking about drinking, when you're deciding to drink, when you're in the process of drinking, you've got to watch yourself, kind of put yourself in an observer mode. It's a version, or it's a form of mindfulness, And instead of judging yourself, be curious about yourself and say, okay, what's going on? Every time I think about drinking against my will, or I am drinking against my will, what is the discomfort I'm experiencing? So what I do in this step is I explain how to pay attention. I give you some tips as to when to pay attention and what to look out for. Step 2 in the process, and I'm going to write this over here, is set good constraints. And this is really the one out of 5 steps in my process. This is the one that is focused on the drinking. And basically, it's a way of, it's a better way than the things that you've tried to do in the past, like making rules, waking up in the morning, feeling guilty and deciding not to drink, participating in dry Januaries that maybe you successfully don't drink in January, but within 2 weeks in February, you're back to your old patterns. I've got some very specific ways to set good constraints that kind of strengthen the bond and the commitment between the current version of you and the future version that you're setting the constraints for. And that more importantly, it sets up a way that when these constraints fail, which they will sometimes in the beginning, that you can learn from that. You can add to this understanding that you have, and in that understanding, set great strategies and tactics to do better the next time. Step 3 in the process is manage the discomfort. And this, in a way, is an extension and an application of what I teach and observe. And what I do there is I teach what is this discomfort. I teach very little bit about the science of emotion, but I give you some techniques to embrace that emotion, to be with the negative and challenging emotion in your life in a way that takes away its power to drive your actions. Because typically this discomfort, it's quite subtle. When you really become aware of it and open your mind to it, it's like, that's actually not so bad. It's when we face it, or we don't face it, but when it's occurring to us in a way that we're mostly oblivious to, that it has such power. So this manage process is a way to really interact and be with the discomfort, but in a way that makes it less troublesome and less powerful to affect your actions. Step 4 is to eliminate much of that discomfort. And I talk about in this step, where does the discomfort come from? Most of it comes from our own thinking, our own perspectives on the world. And there is so much potential to change how you look at the world so that you have less of this negative emotional load to deal with. So that when you get to 6 o'clock in the evening or whenever beer 30 is for you, the edge that you want to take off is a lot smaller. And this has been huge in my life, changing my perspectives. And it will never eliminate all of the discomfort from our lives. I don't think we would want to. I know I don't want to, but we can get rid of a lot of the petty stuff and a lot of the not so petty stuff and really feel better in a way that we don't need to drink so damn much. And then finally, the 5th step in the process is to rebuild, or you could say upgrade your self-concept. And this is where we kind of take the steps to lock in the behavior changes that have been created in these steps above and start to really cement a vision of yourself, a sense of identity, a self-concept of who you are as a person who just naturally drinks in a way that's moderate, that drinks in a way that lets you get what you want out of life, that lets you meet your goals for health, for connection in your relationships, for productivity in your work, and all that sort of stuff. So that's the 5 steps in the process. Like I said, I'm going to give you via email, you're going to get a lesson in each one of these that you can actually apply this and put it into practice. So stick around for that, put it into practice, or give it a try. But if you want to really, hit this problem with a hammer and really turn this into a fast track project, then get on a call with me. I offer a free consult call where I find out what's going on with you and your drinking, talk about where you'd want to be, talk about these kind of 5 steps as they relate to you, and talk about my coaching offer. So I love these calls. I love talking to people about what's going on, and I'd like to talk with you. So schedule that call now if you want, or wait around, go through the lessons. The opportunity will exist later. And that's all. Thanks for your attention.